you have to kind of look at the fact that people are very much polarized because of these opinion shows. And yes, I'm going to be honest, we are an opinion show. We're a progressive opinion show, in case you didn't notice.
Right.
So I don't, do we feed into this?
But really, no, because there's nothing wrong with being there's nothing wrong with a little bias, as long as I feel that there's a false equivalency going on in a lot of places, and to a lot of people. There's this sense of we have to respect all viewpoints and consider them all equally valid. Well, that's
I don't
that's not really the case.
We have to do that. I don't think we should. If your opinion is stupid, I'm not going to validate it.
Right. We're on the side.
Especially if it's based on lying.
We're not partisan. That's the thing with us. I think that's really what sets us apart and keeps us from being one of these types of opinion shows. We're not partisan. Our bias.
But we are progressive. We're a progressive show, but we also hit Democrats. We're not for the Democratic Party. We're definitely not for the Republican Party. We consistently have libertarians on.
The Democrats are not progressive, though, now. I mean, some Democrats are. But the Democratic Party as a whole is no longer progressive and no longer stands for what are my ideals and what are my progressive values. And being progressive is about being open-minded and about seeking change for the betterment of society and individuals. It's about rationality. Well, and it's about rationality. It's about critical thinking. It's about following lines of logic that are valid scientifically and logistically, ethically as well. And that's, I think, what really sets us apart from those that are just full of vitriol and full of emotional, reactionary talking points rather than substantial discussion and debate.
Here's my problem with Fox News. They call themselves fair and balanced. Now, if you want to say, no, we're a conservative outlet. We offer conservative opinion. We're a conservative station. That's fine. Okay? Yes, you're allowed to have those opinions. You're allowed to do as many opinion shows as I want. That's called the First Amendment. Okay,
well,
that's called free speech.
What you are.
Yeah, don't claim to be fair and balanced. Don't claim to be something that you're not.
They also shouldn't call themselves a news.
Another thing that Fox News likes to do, Fox News likes to tell you don't trust other sources of news.
Right. Yes, that's absolutely true. They tell you that the rest of the media is a liberal conspiracy and nothing that you ever read or see on any other site except theirs is a lie. And so they get this cult-like mentality from their viewers. They really do.
And you don't necessarily see MSNBC saying the same thing. At least not that I've seen.
No.
Now, the study continues. If a large segment of the base of either party believes the president is ideologically extreme, they are likely to attach that extreme label to any policies the president supports. Now, I've got a couple of good examples from this, for the current president. Now, remember the payroll tax cut, right? I believe that was a conservative idea. Tax cuts are always a conservative idea. Conservatives love tax cuts, and a lot of people do. A lot of regular people do.
Unless it's for the middle class.
Well, now, because Obama was in favor of it.
Right.
This current crop of Republicans is extreme, and I'm not just. It's not hyperbole. They are extreme.
Absolutely.
Look at cap and trade. Cap and trade was another conservative idea because it allowed how it works is that you have companies trading credits for how much carbon they can put out among themselves. They're basically selling it to each other. That's a free market idea. Now they absolutely hate cap and trade. And the final one example that I want to use, Obamacare. Heritage Foundation created implemented by Mitt Romney in the state of Massachusetts. A free market approach, and yes, the individual mandate was that part of it, was the conservative idea. That was their health care plan. Now that it had been co-opted by the Democrats, by President Obama, they are viciously against it and have wasted time, money, and energy trying to repeal it 40 times.
Right, absolutely. The Republicans have gotten way more extreme over the last 40 to 50 years. And you think about it, compared with Nixon, Nixon was an asshole. Almost no one can argue with that. But he
passed the EPA.
He started the EPA. He started the EPA because there was a point in time when Republicans actually agreed that they live on this planet too, and they might want to actually take it into consideration once in a while.
Now, of course, they live on a different planet.
Yes, they do.
Or at least it seems like they live on a different planet. Yes. And look, it's not a surprise that you see this kind of polarization, especially coming from people that are on Fox News, because of the arguments that you hear on Fox News all the time. You know, things like, well, he's a socialist. He's a far left. He's an extreme leftist. He's a socialist. He's a communist. He's a Kenyan Muslim. That's the stuff that you hear. If you watch Fox News, that's the stuff that you hear on a daily basis, and how Obama is destroying America. For a good example, I'll go back to Bill O'Reilly. He said, if the far-left elements continue to control the Democratic Party, most Americans reject the quasi-socialist agenda they put out. But people like Nancy Pelosi and Barney Frank will never admit that, so attention remains from inside the Democratic Party. So he's saying that the far leftists have controlled the Democratic Party, which I find is kind of a mirror, really, because it's projection. Because right now you've got the far right elements, the Tea Party, controlling the Republican Party.
Right. I wish the far left controlled the Democratic Party. But it seems like the centralists are now controlling the Democratic Party, and the far right is controlling the Republican Party.
And you've even got Sean Hannity. He said, you know what? I don't want his policies to succeed. And it's referring to Obama. I want him out. I want him to be a one-term president because he is doing so much damage with his failed socialist policies.
Yeah, well, that was a failed attempt right there. He's certainly not going to be a one-term president. But what they want is for the first black president to be known as the worst president in the history of all presidents.
Mm-hmm. And you have Glenn Beck, back when he had his TV show. He had said, quote, the president has aligned himself with these radical socialists. Fact. They're radical Marxists. They're militant communists. Fact. The fact is that you cannot be with radical socialist communists and be also, you know, mom and Chevrolet and apple pie and baseball. You can't. It's one or the other. That's the fact. So when you hear this stuff, and he's essentially calling anybody who's a Democrat anti-American. Now, does it really make you want to get along and talk with people who are on the other side? Does it really make our lawmakers want to go in and make deals with each other as they're supposed to, or even talk to each other? Absolutely not, because you're so afraid of what the base now feels from all these political opinion shows.
Mm-hmm.
You're afraid they're afraid to make any sort of deal. You know, a lot of Republicans, moderate Republicans, yes, they do exist, or at least they did. They're a dying breed now. You know, they're getting primaried from the right, from the Tea Party, because that's what the base wants. And so they're so afraid to get things done. They're so afraid to make deals. And that's why we're seeing all this gridlock.
And I think that a lot of Republicans that were once moderate have gone much farther to the right because they've been dragged there by pressure from their constituents.
And, of course, I doubt that a lot of these conservatives really believe what they're saying and what they're doing, but they're doing it so that they can stay in office and continue to keep getting bribes from their donors and support back home.